Hey everybody, Steve Hupp here, Practice Director for Field Service at Thunder, with another SFS tip video where I take a customer question or a question from one of the communities, field service communities, either partner or customer, and go in and do a little configuration and point down a path of a particular solution or maybe an investigation path in the hopes that it helps anyone else out there who might be facing something similar. So today's question is all around virtual scheduling. So it was, in essence, it was a unique use case where the poster was basically trying to, or was relying on a max travel rule to create a radius by which technicians could travel to a particular appointment. And so the idea is that, if it was over 90 minutes drive, that the appointment was going to have to be virtual, right? But if it was under 90 minutes, then there was a possibility that somebody could go on site. So kind of an interesting use case because you don't really know it's virtual ahead of time. And so no matter what, it was going to be kind of a two-step scheduling process. And so the poster had tried to go down the path of doing another policy with a few other work rules and then trying to switch policies after they found that there were no candidates, but couldn't get it to work. So what I did was I went in and I created kind of a basic flow to accomplish something, and actually being able to use a single policy, which I thought was valuable. And as we get started here, one thing I'm going to note is Simon Kuntz did an amazing session on virtual scheduling, and I'm going to post that into the comments and make sure that folks have access to it. But I'm aligning to some of the approaches and things that he outlined in that recording by removing the address of the appointment when we know that it's going to be virtual. So when I went in and initially started investigating this, I actually had recommended another policy, right? Just as the poster had kind of gone down, and using a fixed gap work rule. So another variation of the resource availability work rule, marking the fixed gap, which for those of you who aren't aware, if you use a fixed gap in the resource availability rule, it doesn't consider travel when scheduling. Now, even though the travel lines will show after the appointment gets on the Gantt, during the initial scheduling process, it doesn't calculate travel. But what I found in my testing was it actually still doesn't work, because even though I'm not taking into account travel when I'm trying to calculate, the max travel from home rule is still being utilized. And so even though travel wasn't being calculated, the work rule of max travel, because it's a yes, no qualifier, if they weren't within that radius, it wasn't bringing back candidates either. So I started thinking a little bit more about, how to accomplish. And that's when I, aligned to kind of one of Simon's approaches, which is, I put together a very, simple kind of basic flow to where once we identify the appointment needs to be virtual, to go and remove the address from the work order and the service appointment, and then also store that address, right, in a custom field for reference, right, so that we can keep track of that in the future, and then being able to quickly reschedule that particular appointment. So that's what I did, and it worked successfully. I was able to get it to schedule, and I'll walk through that here in a second. And then I'm also going to walk through kind of another little enhancement that I made to it. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, around that, but it really focuses around how, field service calculates travel when you're scheduling virtual appointments and in-field appointments, because that was the use case for the poster as well. They needed to schedule both of them to the same resources, right? So you could be scheduled a virtual appointment or a field appointment and actually have to travel out to the customer, possibly even in the same day. So let's dive in here. So I've got 3 jobs that I'm going to schedule. So this first one here is going to be 2301. The appointment's 2388. We've got an address down here, right, in San Francisco. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply go and get candidates for this one. And I'm going to get my candidates back. Now, this is an in-field appointment, right? Or it will be an in-field appointment because we're going to get candidates back in order to schedule, which means somebody can actually take on this job. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this for Monday for Harry Long. So that's going to be an in-field appointment that I'm going to schedule, right? So we scheduled one to Harry. Wait for that confirmation. Now this one here is going to be a virtual appointment when we schedule it. So I'm going to go down. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to schedule it, right? And again, I manipulated my policies to be very similar to the one of the poster using the max travel rule. In their case, they didn't really care about match territory or anything like that. It was really all about the radius, right? And making sure if they were in the radius, they could do the appointment maybe in the field. If not, it needed to be virtual. So as you can see here, I didn't get any candidates back, which means there's nobody within the radius to be able to support this particular job. So what I did was I added a little action here that will make the appointment virtual. So I'm going to hit save. And so what my flow is actually going to go do is it's going to clear out the address to the work order. So this is the standard address field down here. And then it stuck it into a custom field as well, so we could track that, right? And then it also removed it from the service appointment. So in essence, we have a service appointment we're going to schedule that has no address whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and hit candidates again. Now, again, the nice part about this is it now went from a 2-policy approach to a 1-policy approach, because now I don't have to switch policies. I don't have to know to switch policies. I can simply just submit my get candidates with the same exact policy I was using. And now what I'm going to see is I'm going to get a lot more candidates back for the virtual appointment, because it's virtual now. There's no address. And so now I see all of my resources, right, that could possibly do this virtual appointment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find Harry here, just because I had scheduled the other one to him on Monday. And so I can go ahead and schedule this to Harry on Monday. Right. So we'll wait for the confirmation there to get that scheduled to him. And then my third appointment here, again, just going to be another appointment in the field. So, in this case, I'm going to hit the get candidates button again. If I would not get any candidates back, I'd be able to make this one virtual as well. But in this case, I should get candidates back, and I'm going to select Harry again, just because he's going to be one of the folks within the radius who can actually support this particular job. So I'm going to schedule this one again on Monday, right? And then we'll get our confirmation on that. So again, what I accomplished with a very, very basic flow, and I'll show the flow here in a second, is, initiating the initial schedule action, not getting any candidates because maybe the max travel from home rule or another rule is prohibiting it because folks are not within the service radius. And we know in this case, just like the poster was trying to do, that if there's nobody within the radius, the appointment needs to be virtual. And so then quickly being able to mark the appointment virtual, removing the address, still tracking it right in a custom field, and without even having to switch the policy, now I can actually go and reschedule, get all the viable resources who can support the appointment virtually, and then assign that resource. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the Gantt chart here, and I'm going to look at Monday. So these are all the jobs that I had scheduled to Harry for Monday. I don't know where my third one is. Maybe I scheduled to somebody else. But what I wanted to point out here is this is the little enhancement that I did to this particular flow. Is I inserted a resource absence here, and I did that in another flow, right? One that I won't go into a lot of detail here, but I just wanted to highlight the primary purpose for doing this is because of the whole notion that if they do an appointment in the field, chances are they're actually going to go home before they go and do another appointment in the field, right? If they want to support that one virtually. Now, they might do it out in the field, right? And I totally get that. But the way that my mind was working is that if you're doing an appointment from home where you might be troubleshooting with the customer, you'll be sitting at home on your computer, you want full attention given to that customer. So in this case, this represents our virtual appointment. And then the way that field service really works in terms of routing is that had I not included that resource absence, the scheduling logic would have been routing to this third job here, this 2390, from the first job, right? Because it basically kind of treats this virtual job as you're not going anywhere, so you're kind of just staying in the same place. So the next time a job comes in to be scheduled, it would assume that this resource Harry is still sitting here at 2388, and then it would route them from there, again causing incorrect travel time. So again, I put an absence there, because what happens with an absence is if you geocode it, then the scheduling logic will actually take that into account as a potential routing stop for them to do. So I basically just went and queried and got the service resources home base, and then added that to the resource absence, creating a stop in essence, which represents them going back home. And so now the next job that comes in actually routes them from their home versus the previous appointment. So that's it. So that's what I wanted to cover. Again, the question was around virtual scheduling and being able to do those and in the field at the same time, and trying to figure out how we initiate scheduling if they couldn't find folks in the radius, to be able to virtually schedule somebody and broaden that candidate pool, which again is what we accomplished in the flow. And really quickly before we wrap up, this is the flow. Very, very simple. I basically just had something to where when I click the is virtual checkbox, it goes in and updates the work order values, takes them from the standard field, puts them in the custom field, and then clears them out from both the work order and the service appointment. So I hope this was helpful. Look forward to doing more of these SFS tip videos, and please reach out to me directly, via LinkedIn or put in comments or whatever. If there's anything that myself or Thunder can do regarding your field service pursuit, evaluation, or current implementation. Thanks so much.